These are your standard P.E.G tube. Goes into the stomach cavity itself rather than into the intestine like a J tube. I see a lot of people have some really intense fears. I did. I think everybody does. Everybody fears not knowing. They have no idea what a feeding tube is or how it works. It's simple. Imagine a milkshake. It's got a lid on it. Then you have a straw. Poke the straw through the lid. There you have a feeding tube. A little bit backwards, but you know, it's a feeding tube. And that's what this is. Now, these are tubes that I've had. Say, button tube. They give these to the kids a lot, and a lot of adults like them. They're handy. I think they're a little bit messier. You have to pretty much lay down to hook up. They have a little flapper in them. I don't know if you can see it on there. Down inside, there's a little slot. You see that horizontal slot down inside the middle there? That's a little, kind of like butterfly doors to help restrict the flow coming out. So when you're hooking up, you're hooking your little tube up there. It has a little plunger that has to go through those little doors, and it allows it to, you'll line your little marker lines up on the top, like so. Push it on, give it a little turn, it's locked in, won't come back out. They're kind of handy. Then you can add a piece of tape, tape it down so it doesn't turn, and it stays right there. And you can go about your business. Silicone, I can't deal with myself. Some people don't have any problem with silicone, but it causes a bad rash on me and irritation. These are the bulb type tubes in that they have a little bulb on the end. That is inflated with the same water that I use to rinse and wash off around my feeding tube with. It's this normal saline irrigation grade. That's not much different than the actual IV grade. It's just whatever. But anyhow, they use a syringe, and this part usually has BAL written on it. That's for balloon. That's that end there. They take and pump in a measured amount of the saline, and watch this balloon here. See that? It fills up, nice little balloon. Now it won't pull back out through the opening. Okay, it'll handle a sizable amount of air. Now, to drain them, like I say, it's like a tire valve. And then just press on that little blue thing inside there. Don't try to turn it. It has a slot on it, but that slot is for flow. It's not for a screwdriver. So putting it in, if you stick something in there to press down on that with, what happens is the balloon will deflate. And that all comes out. Okay. Now, if that was not the reason, say it popped in your stomach and drained out, and then it fell out while you're cleaning, don't panic, just relax. Recline, like if you're sitting in a recliner, or sit back in the chair, slop down in it and sit back, and very gently try to work it around until you can feel it, and slip it in gently. Don't try to force it in. Just gently slip it in. It'll slide right in when you get everything lined up. Put some tape over it so it stays there. You don't want it to come out, okay? And you'll be fine. Nothing to worry about. If at that point you're unable to re-inflate your balloon so that it won't come out, you can inflate it and try it, as long as you know the amount of fluid that you have to put in. You can try it and it don't come out, you're fine. Wait a little while and then check again to see if maybe it's got a slow leak and it has drained out some. And you see it's pushing that plunger up on its own and getting smaller. And then it comes out. And if that's the case, then you can call and say you need to have it replaced. Now, with this particular type, you don't have to worry. Nothing is going to actually plug this one up. What will plug up on this type is this little end piece. Take a toothpick, stick it right up through that little hole there, just twirl it around, and then use a syringe and suck it back out. For that, you would use the bolus syringe, the 2-ounce 60cc syringe, the big ones. A 60cc or 2-ounce syringe, along with a 10cc or 10 milliliter oral syringe. The 60cc is considered a flat top irrigation syringe. And you see it's 2 ounces. Turn it over here, you can see 60cc is just a little bit more than 2 ounces. They come with a little cap inside it's a reducer cap, and they also have their normal cap for closing it off. But there you have it, 60cc syringe. You stick it in here and draw back on it, and you'll notice it'll come out. Another thing that may help is drop it into a glass of water, have that syringe in there, and then back and forth with the syringe, so you're making the water flush back and forth through there to force clean it, and then it's ready to go again. Now this particular one has what's called a Y fitting on the end, so that you can have your feeding tube hooked up on one side, and you can come in with a syringe on the other side and put food in. What you would do generally is you'd have 2 of these adapters. Well, you'd have one of these adapters. It has a little pinch off on it. You pinch it and it locks it off so there's no flow through there. You can open that up and you plug that in. You'll have, say, your feeding tube would be plugged in on this side if you're on a pump. Okay, that way you don't have to disconnect your pump. You come into here, hook your syringe into the feeding line there, pop it open, so that it's free, and then you'd pump your food through, and then, or your medicine through, and then pump some water through also afterwards to flush it on in. Then you close that off, remove your bolus syringe. You can pinch this line off here and then remove that. Put the cap back on, and remember your feeding line is still plugged in, Then you open this up and turn your feed line back on. Allow your pump to continue. and you're back in business. And that's the least interruptive if you're stuck on a pump and having to take your formula 22 hours a day or whatever. I needed the freedom. I couldn't handle that myself. So I went to a gravity flow. Totally different. Also, I don't have to worry about charging up a battery. Now, there's your button type. Nice, simple little button type, and then when not in use, it's closed up. It doesn't have a bumper on it. Actually, the head of it is its own little bumper. All these other tubes will have a bumper, and you can still get Y adapters for all your tubes. And a lot of these silicone tubes have different types of ends on them. Now this one was a good tube. It was silicone. It was the first silicone tube I had, and I had problems with it. Plus this broke. The cap broke on it right away. It doesn't pull out very easily. It stuck in there and it tore off. But essentially it's the same thing. Now it has little markers on here. So when you slide this bumper, you can see where you're at. You'll be seeing it on this side. You'll know just where you're at. But you want to keep at least an inch free space underneath so that you can get under it, clean it, and then you tape it back down, as I show on my bandage video, part 2. Now, this is the tube that I have, and that's what I show, but that's still a bumper. It's the same thing, same bandaging practice. I don't like that. Oh, that's pretty heavy. And if I occasionally dropped it, and oh, that hurt, because I had a piece of metal stuck in my stomach that they didn't know was there. It took a year to surface. And so any little thing helped or really hurt me quite a bit. These tubes also come in different sizes, and they go up in size as the hole gets worn out. But I found you can take a couple of weeks and actually shrink a hole back down tight around any feeding tube. And I am back down to a 16 French. They call them French. This has a little number there, 16. This one has an 18. And this one is a 24, I believe. Yep, it's a 24. Let's see, and they're all done by, it's called French for the focus. There you see, it says 24 FR. That stands for 24 French. That's the diameter of the tube itself, so that it stays snug inside of your stoma, your opening. This, just like that little button type, it has the vent for the balloon, and it blows up, but this one leaks at the same time. I've shown it so many times now how it works that the plunger is not working, but it keeps it from coming back out of the stomach. Again, it's a balloon. Now, these types, I have a pretty bad problem with the silicone. But you see, you got your feed and your balloon side, and it's identical to the button as for the balloon. All the balloon types operate the same way.